dmciesil here. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Living in Chicagoland Suburbs. Today's discussion is going to be strictly about real estate. There's a large elephant in the room, and if you haven't been living under a rock, you probably know what I'm talking about when I talk about real estate. The National Association of Realtors lost an antitrust lawsuit in the past year or so. Has, by way of responding to that and to the DOJ, Department of Justice, the NAR has come up with a proposal that they hope mitigates the issue of negotiating compensation commissions for buyers' agents. As long as I can remember, ever since I've been involved in the business of real estate, compensations have always been negotiable. And I've only been involved in this 30 plus years, but going back to the 1800s, always has been. How we lost the lawsuit in this particular instance goes way beyond my ken. We're not going to get into that today. We're going to talk about what the outset of that antitrust suit has brought to bear upon the real estate market. So, as of August 17th, and I will tell you that Baird & Warner is being proactive in this, and we've begun dealing with the process right now. From now on, all of our transactions with buyers, are precluded by an agreement with a licensed agent working for a licensed brokerage, state brokerage. So the NAR has agreed to a certain dollar amount. I'm not privy, or I don't think I recall what it was, substantially less than the $4 billion judgment. I got to save that for another topic, another day. Okay, the NAR has agreed to, in response to the lawsuit and of making the DOJ more comfortable with our process, they've agreed that on August 17th, every real estate agent who represents a buyer must have a signed buyer's purchase agreement prior to looking at any real estate on the market. That's a law. There will be no possibility of a real estate transaction. So now realtors will be compensated by an agreement that they have signed by their buyers. In the past, since the 1800s, the seller agency, via his listing agency, So essentially what happens, and it's written in every listing agreement that I've ever seen, what happens is the seller agrees, but when signing that listing agreement, he or she agrees that they are going to pay compensate the listing office for their services in a percentage amount, and they will agree to compensate the buyer's cooperative agency, who's bringing the buyer to the property and having them purchase it. So that seller has agreed in writing in the listing agreement to pay a specific amount to the seller's agent and to the buyer's agent. Now, the NAR has been accused of telling all the agencies in the country, probably the world, that they have to charge a specific commission amount. Never been the case. In all the 30-some years that I've been involved in this industry, I've been told you can't even talk about commissions to another agent, not even another agent in your office. So I don't know where this all came from, but the rule is to have an agreed signed document that tells me that your buyer is prepared to deal with the compensation for the work you're going to provide them as their designated real estate agent. Okay, how does it work? Well, when you sign that agreement, it will state in the agreement that you are me, your agent, or whoever your agent may be, you are expected to compensate them for the services that they have rendered for you at the closing table. The document now requires that you have a written amount of money stated in that agreement as to what you're going to be responsible for paying. And I will tell you what it is. In the agreement, which is a 5-page document, it says here, compensation in consideration of the services performed by the designated agent for the buyer and all the reason for the buyer, and the buyer agrees to compensate Baird & Warner, if that's the agent that you're working with, Baird & Warner for the purchase or lease of property in the following amounts. A, compensation of a percentage of the purchase price, the gross sale price of the property. It also says that you can use a lump sum, an wage, however you want it. I think the vast majority of agents are going to request that their buyers be prepared to provide them with a percentage of the sale price. Okay. So in my case, in my instance, I am going to require, and have required of the 3 buyers that I'm working with now, I'm going to require that they are going to be responsible for 2.5% of the gross sales price of the property that they decide to purchase. Okay. Now, it's negotiable. You can do whatever you want. The buyer can say to me, no, I'm going to give you 2%. And we can go back and forth on that. I can explain to him or her why I believe I'm worth 2.5% as opposed to 2%, and so on down the line. Now, the other part that's important about this is it adds to the contract to purchase any property, okay? And by that I mean the seller attached to that document, to that contract to purchase, an additional negotiable item. There are several in there already. The first and most primary one is the price that my buyers would pay. This would be what sort of down payment my buyers prepare. Third, the closing date that we expect to do. Fourth is, how are you paying for this? Is this going to be a transaction? Are you getting a mortgage? Do you have a lender? Has the lender given you approval or a pre-qualification letter, etc.? All of those things have to be negotiated, okay, within the structure. It's not just price. Sometimes somebody's giving you cash and they want to close in 2 weeks. That might be very attractive to you since your condo is going to be built and finished a week and a half from now, okay? So we negotiate all that. Now, an extra added attraction, thanks to the Department of Justice, will be negotiating how that cooperative broker gets paid, okay? Once again, remember, since the 1800s, the seller has always agreed to pay the buyer's agency. That's changed now. They don't have to. It's not in the law that they do that. Okay. So we send in our contract, in addition to it, we send in this little addendum. And it's called the buyer compensation statement that we attach to the contract that we are offering to the seller. Buyers will compensate Baird & Warner in the amount of 2.5% of the gross sales price. Okay, we throw that in there. The seller knows that my buyer, in addition to buying their home, okay, is also committed to paying me or to my office 2.5% of that finished sale price. Second paragraph says, compensation shall be paid at closing via certified funds in the following manner. Check all that apply. Number 1, funds from the buyer in the amount of X dollars. Funds from the seller in the amount of blank. Funds from the seller's broker in the amount of blank. Funds from others in the buyers. The buyers both sign that. If it's a couple, if it's a single person buying it, only one has to sign that document. We send it along with the contract as a second or maybe a fifth negotiable item. Now the ball is in the seller's court. The seller has to decide. He's already told his agent, I don't want to pay any more than 2% to the darn buyer's cooperative broker. All right, that's all I want to pay. Darn it, they get too much money. Okay, fine. Now, the buyer's agent has come and said to you, we don't want 2%. We want 2.5%. The seller has to make up their mind. If this is an expensive home, let's say an $800,000 home, that 0.5 point can represent a substantial amount of money. It can represent $4,000. If it's a smaller little condo at $180,000 or $200,000, then the compensation is substantially less. It's $1,000. Okay. Now, the person selling that $800,000 home may be in a position to deal with that extra 0.5 point and not have it do any damage to his bank account or her bank account. And so he may tell his agent, all right, tell him we'll give him the whole 2.5%. I ain't happy about it, but let's get this done. All right. The other couple just got newly grandpa and mom pitched in a few shekels here and there, and now they've got the down payment covered, they got the earnest money covered, but they ain't got another dime in the bank account. So that $1,000, might as well be 10. So in that case, wow. And then the guy who's selling that, he's not a $1,000 house, okay? He's not sitting on a pile of money somewhere, and every dime he gets counts. So he's kind of, geez, if I got $1,000. And so that's negotiating and handle. And you can see that it adds a serious complication to the negotiation of any purchase that's being made. But as of August 17th, these documents must be signed. There is no way out of it. I can't shoe a property. And there are timelines. When I send you a agreement, when you sign it, it's to the minute. So if any time, okay, get it dicey. So anyhow, my point is, the world of real estate compensation is changing, and you're going to be responsible for signing that document and for agreeing to it. And it sounds a little daunting when I come to you and I say, okay, we're going out shopping. Oh, you want to buy that place? There's a couple on the list here that are at $500,000 and $600,000. Okay, great. You remember you signed that document. So keep that in mind when we're looking at these properties. So now you're going to pay me 2.5%, and we're going to buy a $500,000 property. You, the buyer, are on the hook for 2.5% of that purchase price. And if it's $500,000, okay, you're $12,500 that you might be responsible for in the event that the seller is not offering any compensation to the buyer's agency. This is some serious talking about. Prepared also if you're selling a property. Really urge you, I encourage you to the utmost, put in there 2.5%, because I'm guessing that in large part the buyer's agents are going to be asking for an amount close to that, either anywhere from 2 to 3%. They're going to ask their buyers to be responsible for. So if you're at 2.5%, you're probably well covered. Okay. Now if somebody out there is asking for 3%, and we get into the negotiations again. But that's my recommendation to the sellers. And to the buyers, there's nothing we can change here. This is a fact. It is de facto. You will be signing a buyer's purchase agreement, and you will be offering a certain percentage of the purchase or the sale price of that property, of whatever property you buy. You will be guaranteeing that you will pay a percentage of that gross sales price to your agency. You're going to show up at the closing with a check, certified funds check for the 2.5%. You have negotiated it otherwise in the course of counteracting the negotiations over the property. That can indeed all be said and there, but it's all up in the air. I hope this helps you understand it and doesn't hopelessly confuse you about what's going on. But if you subscribe, you'll have access to all my other videos. We talk about what restaurants are great in Chicagoland and the suburbs. We talk about the museums and the entertainment world of Chicago, and so on and so forth. And we also talk about the buying process. We talk about the selling process. A whole variety of videos that are available to you when you subscribe to my channel. Once again, all you gotta do, press that little red button. All right, my friends, thank you for listening. I hope there was some value in what I've had to tell you today. Take care, be safe. Bye now.